We were looking for land to build the lab on, so we looked at 20 acres all over Wayne and Holmes County. And we did find this 160-acre farm in Shreve in a snowy day. Then we all walked out and looked over. It was half wooded, and we said, this is the place. And we bought the 160-acre farm for less than we could find 20 acres. It was an organic beginning. It just happened. We were three electrical engineers, and we just got together. And there we formed Romick, Berry, and Bayer.
Our first building was 3,400 square feet. It wasn't very big, but it was certainly more than what we needed to start with. It really worked out pretty nicely for us all to be working there together, and a lot of stuff happened in that building. I had a private consulting practice going, and it was through that I ended up with a contract for producing some equipment for a company in Los Angeles, California area. So we first did the development of the press controls that they needed for stamping presses. This was right at the time that the Occupational Safety and Health Administration was no longer allowing people to just turn on a press and let it run. There was all sorts of safety and other considerations that had to be part of that. The integrated circuit had become available not too long before that. And so those press controls that we made for the company in California, we were building the logic for those out of individual transistors and resistors. And so that's the kind of thing that's in a tiny little chip today in huge quantities. But we were making a board that would have one or two flip-flops on it. So it was a combination of industrial stuff and then a little bit on the side at that time, the stuff for people with disabilities. Frank Aroma Company was just a part-time thing at that point, and Dave had his business also part-time at that point, doing wheelchair controls and other kinds of things for people with disabilities. The industrial stuff was fairly strong in growth at that point, and it was really, I'd say, more Dick than the rest of us that was really leading that.
It did grow rapidly. We built controls for injection machines. We had our own line of logic cards that we built and developed for the press controls that shipped to California. And we continued to use those logic cards in all kinds of different companies. The three of us, we made a Silicon Valley in Holmes County. And between the three of us, we felt, and I'm pretty sure that most people felt, there wasn't anything we couldn't do. We solved people's problems, our customers' problems, and we provided employment. And that was the primary goal of the company, was to provide employment to people.
I was a student in the electronics class at the Wayne County Vocational School, and Barry and Dick were substitute teachers for the class. And I overheard them one day, they were talking to the instructor about how they had bought some land south of Shreve and getting ready to put the building. So after school, I got in my car and I started driving around the back roads till I found them. And the day I found them, they had a door for the building on sawhorses eating their supper, and that's where I did my original job interview.
I applied to RBB Systems and Bell and Howe, and I hadn't heard from Dick. I called Dick that evening and told him that I had to make a decision, and he says, well, can you come in tomorrow? And so I went into RBB the next morning and started working.
I have been working at RBB for almost 42 years. I started on February 1st, 1981.
People were a value to me, they always have been, and I think that was the groundwork for developing the company later on. People have always been the basis of the company.
The culture has always been kindness and friendliness and helpfulness, both in the company and with the customers. And I think that makes it a better place to work. It makes the relationships we have here and outside the company work better.
were very successful in merging their family and the work life together. It was always very much a family-oriented company.
The people were like family from the beginning to up there to here. Just a wonderful, I love the people. We're like family. That's all I could say.
The core trust-based, let's take care of our employees, take care of customers, that was there from the beginning. One of the things that attracted me to the company from the beginning was the culture. So I loved the fact that we were a very transparent culture. Dick and the other leaders here at RBB were already sharing the results on a monthly basis. We created core values that meant something. When we were at our best, who are we? And so we created these core values. We landed on these core values that really defined who we are. And here's what they are. Always better, move heaven and earth, deliver the win, and then finally, good mojo. That doesn't mean wear a smile on your face. It means we got to be resilient and get through our difficulties and our good days together. I was introduced to Dick Beery around Christmas time, 1999, through a mutual associate. The gentleman introduced us, said to Dick, hey, Dick, I have your next president. At that time, one of our customers had grown from 5% of our business to 50% of our business in about a 9 to 12 month period. And they decided to hire me to help manage that growth. When the first major .com bust hit, and our customer that was 50% of our business dropped to like 20% of our business virtually overnight, we were in a financial crisis. At that point, Dick did ask me if I'd be willing to take over the operational, so I became president of the business at that point. And with his support, with his full support, it was now crisis mode for the next 2 or 3 years as we kind of dug out of a difficult situation.
My best recollection is having to literally rob Peter to pay Paul. What parts did we need and who had them and who's got us on credit hold so that we could pay these people so that we could do this order to release that. So that was a daily occurrence. We sat down, we wrote checks, payable checks every single day to make sure that we could keep the parts flowing and obviously keep manufacturing going and keep the company going. In
2005, I became CEO, and Dick decided that he would take on the job title of founder to show more confidence in me as the guy who ran the business, and so I took on the title of CEO. That really sent a message to the organization that I was driving and that Dick was giving me full confidence. And eventually in 2007, an ownership buyout was created.
Well, RBB has always been the type of company that wants to do whatever they can to help the customer. And at times, well, the technology has changed so drastically, it's astounding. They've been able to get the machines they need, the training they need to make like wave soldering, surface mount. Everything's gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, so they've got microscopes and machine placement and things like that, and it's enabled them, I think, to change where we needed to change, not just to make money, but really to help customers have what they need. If there's a need, well, can we do it? We'll figure out a way.
As the technology changes, the mindset about what you can do with it has to change as well. And I think these team leaders and these team members here grasp that right from day one. When you walk in here, it's not the same as somewhere else. Bruce calls it mojo, and it is. The mojo is different. when we recognize that something's changing, what are we going to do with it, not how do we avoid it or what are we going to do about it? That's what keeps things moving forward.
We're celebrating 50 years for RBB. It also happens to be 15 years that we started another company called Building Trust. It's our 15th year anniversary for that company. I spend most of my time actually out in other organizations, investing in helping other places build their relationships, build their leadership teams, improving their organizations. I get to do that because we've got great leaders here on a daily basis. The organization it runs itself. People are able to say what's on their mind. They lean on each other. They don't let issues go without finding resolution like good trust builders do. So yeah, it's working.